I've raised millions of dollars for those kind of deals.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode here with me, your host, Sharon Restrepo, and I am here with Dave Dubeau today, and I'm very excited to have him share with you because when he told me what he does for investors, I knew that my listeners were the perfect audience. So many of you I know love wholesaling, but everybody desires to get their hands on property and get dirty and fix it up and have that satisfaction that they accomplished something. And so I know what that feels like, and I'm looking forward to you getting to that point too. Now, some of you are already flipping, but you can only do so many deals because of limited capital. And so Dave's specialty is helping investors raise capital without rejection. And in fact, I am planning a webinar with him coming up next year, early next year. And so look out for that information. But I had the opportunity to grab just a little bit of his time because he is so pulled in every direction with his skills and his talents, and you'll see why. But he was willing to come on and let me interview him so you guys could glean from it and hopefully, be prepared for the webinar that has coming up. So Dave, tell us, how did you get involved in this? A little bit about yourself. And I've got some great questions that I think that my listeners will love to hear the answers to.
Well, thanks very much, Sharon. Yeah, so I've been kind of around real estate since day one. The family home was one unit in a sixplex that my grandfather and my father built. My parents, unfortunately, got divorced when I was fairly young. And my mom got into real estate investing way back in the 70s and 80s as a single mom raising a snot-nosed kid, yours truly. She built up a portfolio of about 50 doors at that time, long-term buy and hold type stuff. Mid-80s hit, interest rates went up to a gazillion percent, yeah. All that kind of stuff. Things didn't go too well for her after that, but she took massive action ahead of time. But of course, being a teenager at the time, I didn't pay much attention to what was going on. I went to university, graduated with a completely useless degree in psychology, started traveling the world a bit, ended up in San Jose, Costa Rica, of all places, decided to plant my flag and started a language training company down there, got married, had kids, lived there for a decade, and then moved back to North America. I'm in beautiful British Columbia, Canada, in 2003 with my Costa Rican wife and two little kids, which was definitely a big transition for all of us, from tropical paradise to the frozen hinterlands of Canada. People go, what were you thinking? You know what? It was all about providing the kids a better opportunity for growing up. So I had to start all over again from scratch. And that's when real estate kind of came across my radar, Sharon, because I hadn't been able to sell my business in Costa Rica, so I didn't have very much cash to get started. I had been self-employed for so long and had a useless degree in psychology, so I was pretty much unemployable unless McDonald's was hiring. and I was under a lot of pressure to start, keeping the lights on.
Right.
So I saw one of those, you remember those infamous late night infomercials? You too can get rich in real estate with little or no money down. Well, I said, perfect. That's what I got, little or no money. So show me how to do this. I got the binders and the VHS cassettes and all the stuff and went to work. I did 18 deals in 18 months.
Wow.
In the small city that I live in. There was about 80,000 people in our area at the time. Got very good at finding motivated sellers at that time. I was doing a lot of, not so much wholesaling, but creative type deals. So, options and subject to type deals and sandwich leases and these sort of things is what I was doing at that time. And then I caught the attention of an up and coming real estate guru. He saw what I was doing with real estate, saw my background in marketing. I took a break from active real estate investing, helped him grow his companies, and jumped back in 2010. And this time I was doing a version of real estate, kind of a slow flip. Sharon, I know you got experience with flips. I'm about as handy as a foot, so I didn't want to really try doing active flips. So I was doing tenant first rent to own deals. Find a property, find a good tenant buyer, buy them a property, lease it, option it to them for 2 to 3 years while you help them get qualified. So that was my version. But it required capital. So by that time I had pretty good credit and I had some money. So I was able to self-finance my first 2 deals and then hit the wall, ran out of cash, ran out of credit. And that's when I started raising capital. Or I should say that's when I started trying to raise capital because I sucked at it and I failed miserably. I can remember it so vividly, Sharon. I had this perfect deal land in my lap. I didn't have the money for it. I'd heard, have you ever heard this? Find a good deal and the money will find you. Have you heard that one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'd heard that, but I knew I still needed to do something. So I'd also heard, or that was around the time that the Wolf of Wall Street movie came out, and it made, dialing for dollars look like a lot of fun. Hey, that looks like fun. I'll try that. I had no experience, no background in that. Picked up the phone, called somebody, got rejected. I'd love to say I kind of grounded out and did hundreds of calls and raised the capital. I didn't. I did about 10 calls. My poor, fragile little ego could not handle that much rejection. I pouted. I quit calling. I said, this sucks. I don't want to do that. Let's try something different. So in the back of my head, I also remembered, hey, somebody told me, go out. If you need to raise money, go out and turn every conversation into a real estate conversation. Network, schmooze, practice your 30-second elevator pitch, your whatever you want to call it, right? That spiel. So I did that. Chamber of Commerce, BNI, Toastmasters, wherever they let me in the door, there I was with my business cards and my spiel. And guess how much capital I raised, Sharon? Zero. Zero capital raised. 2020 hindsight, I think it's because I was desperate. I don't think it was. I know it was.
Okay.
I was desperate. And that desperation, as cool as I tried to portray myself, that desperation oozed out of every pore in my body. I was that guy at the bar, the creepy guy at the bar that all the women are avoiding because it's just so obvious, right? He's so desperate. That's what I was when it came to raising capital. So that didn't work. By this time, I only had 2 weeks to remove subjects on this deal. I got a 1-week extension. Everybody's getting really antsy. The seller, the realtor, my tenant buyer, everybody, me. And that's when I came up with what I thought was a brilliant idea. If enough people see this deal, it's going to sell itself. Yeah, right. But anyhow, I put together a list of a couple of 100 people, and I put together a 1-page PDF, and I spammed that out to everybody I knew. I sent that out on Wednesday night. I remember getting up. I was all excited Thursday morning because there were some responses coming to my email. And basically, they all said, hey, Dave, haven't heard from you in forever. And here you are hitting me up for cash for a deal. Bye-bye. Take a hike. Usually not that polite. So Sharon, long story, still kind of long. I lost that deal. I was not able to close on it.
Oh.
I had to tell the tenant buyer that, which really sucked because they'd already given notice where they were renting. They given me a $15,000 option fee that had to get refunded to them. I was out a couple of $1,000 with expenses. The seller was super ticked off. The realtor was super ticked off. The mortgage broker wasn't very impressed. Everybody was ticked off. And this is a small town I live in. Yeah. So I had some major egg on my face for a while. That stung. What hurt the worst, though, is 2020 hindsight. Because I was so clumsy about how I went about raising capital, I turned off a lot of really good prospective investors. And we've all heard the old adage, right? You've only got one chance to make a good first impression. Well, I screwed that up big time.
Yeah.
So when the smoke cleared, I said, Dave, you dummy, that was really stupid. I don't want to be in that position ever again.
Yeah.
The way I went about this was all wrong. It's definitely not right for me. Maybe some people can make that work, not me. Why don't you try something different? Why don't you apply what you already understand about marketing? And why don't we see if we can use that for raising capital? So by hook and by crook, I came up with this, what I call the 5-step money partner formula. And I put it to use. It worked really well for me when I was doing these kind of transactions. I raised about $1 million for single family homes. That was great. Then I transitioned into bigger deals, into multifamily deals. I raised millions of dollars for those kind of deals. But thankfully, over the years, it's worked really well for a lot of other people, especially flippers. This is great for flippers, right? Because flippers definitely need capital, but anybody that needs capital to actually do their deals. So some of your folks that are doing wholesale deals, they might want to start buying and holding some of these properties, holding them long-term as long-term rentals. They might want to get into multifamily, self-storage, mobile home parks,
Right.
whatever. There's all these different options available to you when you've got the capital.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm excited for you to come back and share and, more of a workshop type atmosphere for everybody, because this is so valuable. I know for my husband and I, just the beauty of being able to jump on the best deals quickly has been because of financial relationships and exactly what you're talking about, learning to get the money. And when you do it right, and I believe this is what you teach as well, you don't really have to go out and ask for the money. People are coming to you and offering the money.
That's the goal. That's the goal. So here are some of my foundational principles when it comes to raising capital. So now, and this is from my own experience and that of hundreds of clients at this point. When it comes to the money or the deal, my opinion is the money should come first. So what does that mean? That means that our goal should be to have a group of investors ready to go, get our investor ducks in a row first, and then go make offers on these kind of properties, right? Mm-hmm. If you're going to be buying and holding them or flipping them or what have you. Because if you know that you've got the capital to do the deal, now you're going to be able to go in with confidence and make offers on these properties, the ones that you want to keep. Does that make sense? So money of the deal, the money comes first. Our goal with this whole process is to get you that group of investors lined up, ready to go in the wings, kind of like actors waiting to go on stage to do their part. Same thing with your investors. You want people that have said, hey, you know what, Sharon, next time you've got a deal, I want first dibs. I want to hear about that first. And you want to get a bunch of those folks lined up, ready to go ahead of time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I even have a program I call it the First Dibs program, just to, get people lined up for the next deal that we get.
I love it. First Dibs program. That's great terminology.
Yeah. So that's
and then the other thing, like you pointed out too, is, so that's the first thing. Let's try and get our capital lined up before the deals. The other big concept is, instead of us chasing after investors and their money, let's figure out a way for them to come to us instead. So the whole goal of this money partner formula is to get people to book meetings with you, to find out more about your deals. It's not to sell a deal directly. It's to create curiosity. It's to educate people about what you're up to. And it's to get them to self-identify. So if I could wave the magic wand for your followers, it would be this. It would be having investors coming to you already pre-educated about what you're up to. So they know what kind of deals you're doing. They understand more or less how much capital is involved. They understand the pros and the cons. Have them come to you pre-educated. That means they're going to be pre-motivated, predisposed, and perhaps even pre-qualified to invest before you even talk with them about it. So they're pre-sold on the whole idea. And that conversation, I tell you, is a complete 180 from us desperately, creepily chasing after people, trying to convince them to invest in our deals. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's what this is all about. And the presentation that we're going to be doing together is all about how to raise capital without rejection, because nobody likes rejection.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm excited about that. So before we wrap up, what will they learn at that presentation?
Well, we're going to jam pack a lot into approximately 60 minutes, and then we'll open up for Q&A. But we're going to go over some really big ideas. Number one, we're going to go over who is your ideal investor, especially when you're just getting started with raising capital. Who's the ideal person to be going after? Where are they? How can we find them? How can we break the ice with them first before we start talking business? Because we don't want to do the dumb thing that I did, charging like the bull in a china shop. So that's the first thing. It's all about creating that target group of prospective investors. The second thing is, how do we have an effective investor meeting? So we'll touch on the important points of that, because that's where the rubber really hits the road. Mm-hmm. We'll also talk about what really works and what are some effective ways to get the word out and to do this marketing. And the marketing is all about not overwhelming people with data. It's about edutaining them. And I'll explain exactly what edutaining marketing is all about, what works best, especially these days with the whole pandemic, post-pandemic, whatever stage we happen to be in. depending on your point of view. So it's all about the marketing to make that happen, how to keep that going, and how to have that consistent flow of investor meetings. People that are coming to you, asking you about your deal. So that's the gist of what this presentation is going to be all about.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, I'm really excited about that. Well, you've shared a lot of interesting tips for everybody, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much for your time. And so I believe February, the very beginning of February is when we
February 2nd, I believe. Yeah, Wednesday, February the 2nd.
So everybody mark your calendars, because we'll be bringing him back for that. And I'm excited about that, because I know I'm going to be there taking notes too. Any last comments before we take off, Dave?
Yeah, you know what, Sharon? Here's the comment. The comment is, take what Sharon has taught you about finding deals, finding motivated sellers, wholesaling deals. Keep chugging with that. But also keep in mind that it's always a good idea to buy some properties, flip them, or hold them as well. So you want to be doing that. And the way that you want to do that is by using other people's money. There is literally trillions of dollars out there available for you. You just have to know how to get it. And that's what we're going to be showing you, is how to get that capital.
True. Awesome. Well, thank you again. And thanks for tuning in today, everybody. And we'll see you soon. And we'll see you on February 2nd.